Ladies and gentlemen, men spend their lives chasing approval, hoping to be seen, admired, and validated. Yet the irony is clear: those who seek attention rarely hold it, while those who stand firm in themselves command it effortlessly. If you wish to be irresistible, stop seeking, stop bending, stop proving. Women and the world are drawn to the man who does not need them. A man who possesses himself fully, who is unmoved by fleeting desires or external praise, radiates an undeniable presence. His strength is not in arrogance but in certainty, not in games but in quiet confidence. The truth is brutal but freeing. Attraction is not about tricks, wealth, or words. It is about who you are when no one is watching. So ask yourself, are you a man who bends to every wave of emotion, or one who stands like a mountain? Do you let the opinions of others shape you, or do you walk your own path? Is your self-worth dictated by external validation, or do you hold it within? Attraction is a paradox. The more one seeks it, the more elusive it becomes. Those who chase admiration and validation often find themselves repelling the very attention they crave. On the other hand, those who stand firm in their own presence, indifferent to the need for approval, become naturally magnetic. This is the essence of attraction through detachment. Detachment does not mean apathy. It does not mean a lack of care or interest in human connection. Instead, it is a quiet confidence, a self-assurance that does not depend on external reinforcement. A man who is detached is not cold, he is simply unshaken. His emotions do not dictate his actions, and his sense of worth is not determined by how others perceive him. He understands that validation from others is fleeting, and as a result he refuses to base his identity on something so unstable. Women, and people in general, are drawn to individuals who possess a deep sense of self. When a man is emotionally independent, he exudes an energy that suggests he is whole on his own. This creates a natural intrigue. Why does he not seek approval like others? Why is he not desperate for attention? This mystery and certainty make him irresistible. He does not try to impress, yet he impresses. He does not need to be desired, yet he is desired. Attraction rooted in detachment stems from the fundamental truth that people want what they cannot easily have. The moment something becomes overly accessible, it loses value. A man who constantly seeks attention, who adjusts his personality to fit in, who prioritizes external validation over self-respect, signals a lack of worth. If he does not value himself highly, why should others? Detachment, on the other hand, signals strength. It tells the world that he is content whether he is admired or not, whether he is loved or alone. That quiet self-reliance is what makes him stand out. Men who struggle with attraction often do so because they place too much importance on how they are perceived. They overthink their words, their actions, their appearance, desperately hoping to craft an image that will make them desirable. But in doing so, they reveal their dependence. They expose a need for validation, and that need weakens their presence. A man who understands the power of detachment, however, moves through the world without fear. He does not second-guess himself because he knows that external opinions do not define him. This mindset is not about manipulation or pretending not to care. It is about genuinely reaching a place where the opinions of others do not govern one's self-esteem. The path to attraction is not in doing more to gain approval, but in doing less, letting go of the need for it. A man who has mastered detachment does not chase, he walks his own path, and in doing so, he finds that others naturally follow. Strength is often misunderstood. Many believe it comes from dominance, power, or the ability to control others. But true strength does not lie in the external world, it is found within. Self-mastery is the foundation of all power, the ultimate strength that sets apart those who lead from those who follow. A man who has conquered himself is unshakable, for he is no longer at the mercy of impulse, external forces, or fleeting emotions. A man without self-mastery is a slave to his own weaknesses. He is controlled by his desires, his fears, and the opinions of others. He reacts impulsively, allowing external events to dictate his emotions and actions. He seeks comfort over challenge, indulgence over discipline, and validation over self-respect. Such a man is easily swayed, manipulated, and thrown off course because he has no firm foundation within himself. He is ruled by the outside world, not by his own will. On the other hand, a man who has mastered himself does not seek control over others because he has already achieved the greatest victory: control over his own mind. He is not ruled by his impulses, but rather governs them with discipline. He does not crumble in the face of adversity, but stands firm, knowing that hardship is merely a test of his resolve. He does not need approval or admiration because his worth is not dictated by the shifting opinions of the world. The path to self-mastery is not easy, which is why so few walk it. It demands discipline, patience, and an unyielding commitment to personal growth. It requires a man to confront his weaknesses, not hide from them. He must resist the temptation to be guided by emotion and instead act with reason. He must train his body, mind, and spirit, understanding that mastery is not a single achievement but a lifelong pursuit. Such a man is rare, and because he is rare, he is respected. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate strength, not the strength of aggression or force, but the quiet power of self-control. A man who remains composed in chaos, who does not fold under pressure, who does not allow his emotions to dictate his actions, this is the man others admire, trust, and follow. His presence alone commands attention, not because he demands it, but because he embodies a discipline and certainty that most lack. In a world where people are driven by distractions, desires, and external pressures, the man who has mastered himself stands apart. He is unbothered by trivial matters, unshaken by temporary setbacks, and undistracted by things beyond his control. His mind is his fortress, his discipline his weapon, and his unwavering commitment to self-betterment his guiding force. It is not strength over others that defines him, but strength over himself, and in that mastery he becomes truly powerful. Confidence is often mistaken for arrogance, yet the two are fundamentally different. Arrogance is loud, insecure, and desperate for validation. It seeks attention, demands recognition, and thrives on making others feel smaller to appear greater. Confidence, on the other hand, is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted in certainty. It does not need to prove itself because it already knows its worth. A truly confident man does not impose his presence, he embodies it. Certainty is the foundation of confidence. A man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and where he is going does not need external validation to feel secure. He does not need to boast about his abilities or seek constant reassurance from others. His actions and presence speak for him. When he walks into a room, he does not demand attention. Yet people naturally take notice, not because he is trying to be seen, but because he moves with the calm assurance of someone who trusts himself. Arrogance, by contrast, is fragile. It is an exaggerated display meant to compensate for insecurity. The arrogant man must constantly remind others of his worth because he is unsure of it himself. He fears being overlooked, so he makes noise. He fears being challenged, so he belittles others. This is not strength, but weakness disguised as dominance. It is an illusion, and those who see through it are unimpressed. A confident man does not seek to elevate himself by diminishing others. He does not need to prove his intelligence by making others feel ignorant. He does not need to assert his strength by intimidating the weak. He simply is. He knows that his value is not dependent on comparison, and because of this, he remains unfazed by competition or external opinions. He understands that true confidence is not about being the best in the room, but about being sure of himself regardless of who is in the room. This certainty allows him to move through life with grace. He does not rush to defend himself against every criticism, nor does he feel the need to react to every challenge. He understands that his worth is not up for debate. He chooses his battles wisely, speaks when necessary, and remains silent when words would serve no purpose. He does not act out of ego, but out of understanding. This ability to remain composed, measured, and assured is what makes his confidence unshakable. The difference between arrogance and confidence lies in intention. Arrogance seeks to impress, confidence seeks to express. Arrogance is built on insecurity, while confidence is built on certainty. A truly confident man does not demand respect, he earns it effortlessly. He does not chase validation, he carries himself in a way that commands it. And because he is rooted in certainty rather than arrogance, His presence is one that others trust, admire, and are drawn to without him ever needing to ask for it. A man who depends on external validation is a man who has surrendered control over his own worth. He is not the master of himself, but a servant to the opinions of others, constantly seeking approval to feel valuable. This is a weak man's currency, a currency that fluctuates wildly, leaving him in a perpetual state of uncertainty. The moment he builds his self-worth on the praise of others, he becomes vulnerable to their criticism. He is no longer grounded in himself, but instead shaped by the ever-changing views of the world around him. External validation is seductive because it offers an illusion of confidence. When others admire, approve, or praise a man, he feels a temporary surge of self-worth. But this feeling is fleeting because it does not come from within. The moment that validation disappears, so does his sense of value. He is left chasing more, needing constant reassurance to maintain his fragile self-esteem. This dependence makes him weak because it means his emotions, decisions, and actions are dictated by forces outside his control. A strong man, on the other hand, does not seek validation. He validates himself. He understands that his worth is not determined by external praise or recognition, but by his own principles, actions, and integrity. He does not need others to tell him he is valuable because he already knows it. This self-assurance makes him unshakable. Whether he is admired or ignored, praised or criticized, his internal foundation remains solid. He is not swayed by the opinions of others because he does not rely on them to define himself. The weak man, however, lives in fear of disapproval. He avoids risk, hesitates to speak his mind, and adjusts his personality to fit in. He is driven by the need to be liked, which makes him easy to manipulate. Society, peers, and even strangers dictate his choices, leading him further away from his true self. In his desperate attempt to be accepted, he loses the very thing that makes him valuable, his individuality. Ironically, the more a man seeks validation, the less attractive he becomes. People can sense when someone is desperate for approval, and this neediness is repelling. Women are not drawn to men who beg for attention, nor do they admire those who shift their identity to please others. True respect is earned by those who stand firm in who they are, indifferent to whether others approve. The man who validates himself naturally commands admiration, not because he demands it, but because he embodies strength, confidence, and authenticity. To break free from the trap of external validation, a man must learn to trust himself. He must build his self-worth on his own standards, not on the ever-changing opinions of others. He must act with integrity, not for recognition, but because it aligns with his values. When a man reaches this level of self-sufficiency, he becomes truly powerful. He no longer seeks permission to be himself, he simply is. And that, in itself, is enough. The modern world is built on chaos. Noise, distraction, urgency. Everywhere people are pulled in 100 directions at once. Their minds restless, their emotions unsettled. They react instead of act, driven by impulse rather than reason. In this storm of distraction, the man who remains still stands apart. He is calm where others are frantic, composed where others are reckless. His stillness is not passivity, it is power. It is the ability to hold his ground, to see clearly, to think before he moves. Stillness is strength, because it is the mark of self-control. A man who cannot control himself, his thoughts, emotions, and reactions, is at the mercy of everything around him. He is easily provoked, easily manipulated, and easily swayed by the opinions of others. When faced with a challenge, he panics. When confronted with uncertainty, he hesitates. He lacks the discipline to quiet his mind, and as a result, he is constantly at war with himself. This internal chaos weakens him, making him unreliable and unpredictable. The man who has mastered stillness, however, is different. He does not rush to respond, nor does he allow emotion to dictate his actions. He observes before he speaks, thinks before he reacts, and moves only when necessary. His stillness is deliberate. It allows him to see through illusion, to recognize what matters and what does not. He does not waste energy on petty conflicts. nor does he exhaust himself chasing fleeting desires. He is steady, focused, and in complete command of himself. In relationships, in business, in moments of crisis, this ability to remain still is what separates the strong from the weak. When others lose control, the man who remains calm gains it. People look to him for guidance, for reassurance, for stability. His presence alone commands respect because he does not waver under pressure. He is a rock in a world of shifting tides, unmoved by the chaos that consumes those who lack discipline. Stillness does not mean inaction. It does not mean passively waiting for things to change. It means acting with purpose, choosing responses carefully, and refusing to be dragged into meaningless battles. It means being so secure in oneself that external noise does not disrupt inner peace. This is what makes a man truly powerful, his ability to remain undisturbed, unshaken, and unaffected by the trivial distractions that consume lesser minds. The world admires those who possess this quality because it is rare. Most people are slaves to their impulses, controlled by whatever emotion overtakes them in the moment. But the man who has trained himself in stillness remains free. He moves when he chooses, speaks when necessary, and acts only with intention. In doing so, he exerts more influence than those who waste their energy reacting to every disturbance. His silence carries more weight than another man's shouting, his presence more impact than another man's noise. He is not ruled by chaos, he rules over it. Every man holds within him a vision of the person he wishes to become. He admires strength, discipline, and wisdom in others, yet often fails to embody those traits himself. He looks up to men of action, of courage, of unwavering integrity, but when faced with the choice between comfort and growth, he hesitates. The greatest challenge in life is not in admiring greatness, it is in becoming it. To be truly fulfilled, a man must become the kind of person he respects, the kind of man he would follow if he were not himself. This transformation begins with brutal self-honesty. A man must ask himself, if I met myself today, would I be impressed? Would I trust my own word? Would I respect my discipline, my values, my ability to lead? If the answer is no, then he has work to do. It is easy to dream of being a strong, capable, and honorable man, but it is meaningless without action. The difference between admiration and embodiment is effort, and effort requires sacrifice. To become the man he admires, a man must first abandon the excuses that hold him back. Weakness, laziness, and fear must no longer be tolerated. He must stop blaming circumstances, stop waiting for the right time, and stop convincing himself that he is already enough. Growth is not about self-loathing, it is about self-respect. A man who truly values himself refuses to remain stagnant. He understands that progress is not found in comfort, but in pushing past resistance every single day. Discipline must become his foundation. The men he admires do not waver in their commitments. They do not abandon their responsibilities when things get hard. They do not seek the easy path because they understand that ease breeds mediocrity. To become such a man, he must train his mind, body, and character relentlessly. He must set high standards for himself and refuse to lower them. Whether it is in fitness, skill, knowledge, or moral strength, improvement must become non-negotiable. A man he would admire is not only disciplined, but also unwavering in his principles. He does not betray his word, compromise his values, or change his character for approval. He does what is right even when no one is watching, even when it is difficult. Honor and integrity are not qualities he puts on display when convenient. They are embedded in his very being. He must become a man whose actions and words align, whose presence commands respect, not through force but through the quiet certainty of his convictions. This journey is not for the weak. It requires a daily commitment to excellence, to self-improvement, and to enduring discomfort for the sake of growth. But the reward is profound. When a man becomes someone he would admire, he no longer seeks validation from others. He carries himself with confidence, knowing that he has earned his own respect. And in doing so, he naturally commands the respect of the world around him. Becoming the man you would admire is not a destination. It is a lifelong pursuit. There will be moments of struggle, days when you fall short, and times when the path forward feels uncertain. But what separates the strong from the weak is the willingness to keep going, to hold yourself to a higher standard even when no one is watching. Every choice you make, every habit you build, every challenge you overcome, shapes the man you become. The world does not need more men who simply wish to be great. It needs more men who choose to be. So step forward with discipline, with integrity, and with purpose. Be relentless in your growth, unshakable in your values, and fearless in your pursuit of excellence. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Become the man you respect, starting now.